Joining us next on the MARR Army Rock Show, we've got a good friend of the show. And when I give you, when we start talking, I'll give you a laundry list of some of the bands this guy produces, and you'll recognize many of the names as former guests on the Rock Show. I'm talking, of course, about Tony Correlli, owner of Deep End Studios in Baltimore. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, we're doing sort of this Hired Gun feature, and the movie Hired Gun is what inspired us to have a couple of the artists we had on last week. But there's a lot of folks behind the scenes like yourself, and folks that don't know your story are going to be fascinated. So, first things first, tell us a little bit about your studio and how many artists you actually work with.
I have a studio in a little outside the Baltimore line, so Baltimore County, and record day and night. So I usually have an artist or a band in during the day and then a different band during the evening, or some people block out the full day. But the studio is pretty much always going, so we crank out a lot of music. There's a lot of great bands in the area. There's also people doing side projects and other kind of things where we're just making a lot of music. People put out singles online, people put out full albums, and we keep busy at the Deep End. It's a lot of fun.
I saw, on your Facebook page, you just had a TV appearance with Shelby Blondell. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I was her backing person there, just playing keyboard, doing what I do. Of course, you're going to see me on camera, but I'm just kind of behind her playing keys. I didn't say anything. I don't think anyone mentioned me there. I'm just kind of creeping, but that's what I do. I show up and play some of those parts. When it's playing with a full band, some of the parts that I've added onto the album that maybe aren't always there live. That song with Shelby is very piano driven, so she and I arranged it together and produced it here at my studio. So it's got this kind of cool New Orleans style piano thing going, almost a ragtime kind of thing at times, and it's a fun song. So she wanted to do it, invited me on, and that was a lot of fun.
And the way you just described it, I can't even tell folks how many times I go to a show in Baltimore, and if I see a keyboard up on stage, there's a good chance you're going to walk off from behind stage and jump onto that keyboard. How many bands are you actually performing with a year in the Baltimore area?
Oh man, I don't even know. So I played with Shelby yesterday on a local TV news show, and then tonight I'm playing. I'm doing a song. I guess this isn't live. It'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
Tonight, but I'm playing a song with the Henchmen, just one song, and that'll be fun. And I'm playing with after that. It's kind of random. Sometimes I'm playing a lot. Sometimes it's a couple bands at one time. Like a couple weeks ago, I was playing a CD release concert with Matt Talley, and I played a couple songs with him, and then my friend Tim, T.M. Lockamy, he was playing too, so I played his whole set. On his CD now, I played most of the music, played some guitar and all the keys and programmed drums. So he put together a live band, but I was kind of in the center of that live band since it was very synth-driven on the album. But in that case, I was playing a little more of a lead role, but sometimes a little more in the background. But that to say, that particular night I was playing with two bands, and you've been there before where I've played with even more. It just works out that way.
I absolutely have. And for folks that listen to the show regularly, just a few that I'll throw out that they'll know that you work with this year. We love the Underground, the Henchmen you're playing with tonight, the Fatally Yours, Will Sims, Through the Wake, Huffman, Lion's Den, all been guests on the show. When all these bands come in, what percentage of the time would you say you're actually playing on the record instead of just producing?
Just about every album I end up doing something. Sometimes it's not anything that's that prominent on the CD. As a matter of fact, that's usually my approach, is to do something that won't be missed too much live. So we don't want to have a big keyboard solo if there's not going to be a keyboard player. But when the bridge kicks in, some symphonic strings or something that augments the band's sound can help put the recording over the top. And if I'm not there live, it'll still be okay. It'll still sound big live. You have the element of the louder system and all this other stuff to compensate for some of the missing parts. But making the record as good as it can sound, sometimes it calls for stuff like that, or drum loops or other things that we may use to, just augment what's there. Nothing too new, just to add depth to a part or width or whatever we need. So just about every album I produce, I end up doing some of that. Sometimes it is prominent, and with Will Sims, sometimes it's just he and I So we'll just it'll have a lot of keyboard tracks. And I put a keyboard solo in one of his songs. He came in, we didn't even start the song. I hadn't even heard it yet. I'm like, whatever we do today, let's put a cool keyboard solo in it. Because in that case, we were going for it. And the song is Amber Eyes, and I really like how that turned out. And when he asked me to play live, it's always like, we'll do Amber Eyes. And I'm like, okay. I'm in, count me in. Now, which is what happened at Main Street Music Fest this year.
As busy as you are with have you recently been an actual like member of a band? I mean, you like play with everybody. Has there been a band that you've been like a touring member of, or are you just too busy with your production you can't do that?
I am busy with the studio. That has kept me busy. There have been bands that I've played more with. Nelly Zecco, for example, I used to play with pretty frequently. He always got cool gigs. He was on The Voice, and he's just such a cool guy and so fun to play with, and he had great musicians too. So it's always nice playing with people that are just top notch, and they challenge you. And he's very improv kind of guy. You don't know what he's going to do live, so it makes it interesting. You can never completely be prepared for what Nelson and Nelly Zecco is going to do. But I haven't had my own. I haven't really joined a band, so I'm usually not like listed as a band member. Occasionally I am, but I'm not officially a band member of anything until this year, actually, or last year, I should say. I started it's more of a production duo, more of a studio project with Athena from Rev. So she and I formed a group called Steep Steps, and we make electronic music. And that is actually, if I were to say I was in a band, that would be the band I'm in. That's the band I've started with Athena, and that I write with more in partnership instead of like when an artist comes in, I try to let them start the song and try to go tell their story and then catch on to what they're doing and write from there. In the case of Steep Steps, sometimes I'm writing all of it, or we're writing it together, or it's more of a project that I guess is my band, I would say, or our band in that case.
That project, is that the one that you guys got a song in a scary movie that's out there right now?
Yes, and that movie it's in film festivals right now, so it's not distributed, and so it just won a best horror feature at a pretty cool film festival in San Francisco. But next week it's going to be local. It's going to an Annapolis Film Festival, so Athena and I will be going to check out the film, which we did get to screen it once before, and it's really cool. I wasn't sure. We did the music for it. We heard the premise for it. We did an original song written for the movie that was featured in the movie, but we hadn't seen anything until the movie was complete. So we didn't see anything in progress, and it was really cool when we did. I actually liked it, which, is cool, of course, but you don't want to take it for granted. There's a lot of stuff out there that's not so great. And I was definitely glad to see, like, wow, this is really cool. I can't wait till this gets out and I can show more people. It's a cool premise. It's called Butterfly Kisses. And it takes place in Ellicott City and the Baltimore areas around my house, so that made it interesting, and it was really well done. And it was cool to do the music for that, and we're hoping to do more of that. That's actually what Steep Steps is for.
So, talking about, you were kind of alluding to this in that segment, how the bands come in with some music and you'll kind of either co-write or give them some ideas. Are you one of those guys too that has songs that you've written to your own that you kind of like give away to bands? Have you ever like written some tunes and just say, hey, this particular Baltimore Bear, this band, I give you this song? Have you ever done that?
I have done that a time or two. I guess I haven't done that recently, and I suppose I write more in some cases when it's a specific thing I have in mind. But that's a good idea. I should probably get into more of it just when I'm just kind of jamming and writing something, maybe trying to match that up with somebody. Which isn't a bad idea. I haven't done that recently, but I have done that at times before. So, and that's cool.
So is it hard for you at all to transition? Like, you've got a wide variety of artists that come in, everything from pop, Shelby's a little more pop, and then you got Through the Weight coming in, who's bordering on metal, and Huffman some heavier stuff. Is it easy for you to transition back and forth and produce pop and like more metal kind of stuff?
It keeps it interesting. So I prefer the variety. I really like what I do. I do long hours. So it actually helps. My average day is usually I start around 11 and go to like 11 or 12. So when there's a change in the middle of the day, I find that that helps me keep fresh on ideas. So sometimes I am working on with one band. Sometimes it's one song. Sometimes it's one song all day. But a lot of times it is something during the day and then something at night. So I may be working with a live gospel band with drums and bass and everything during the day, and then at night it's a dance artist, and I'm making the electronic music, mainly with synths and stuff, and being more of a musician than an engineer. So changing roles, and it's all, of course, related. It's all music. I think helps keep things interesting. I enjoy learning stuff from new styles of music. I remember recording a bluegrass band a while ago, and just finding out they have a different terminology for everything. They use words I hadn't heard before. They're like, "We're going to do the tic-tac now." So I'm like, "Okay, you get out the tic-tac. I will find out what it is and how to mic it." And he pulls out a baritone Fender Strat, and so we plug it in. I'm like, "All right, looks like a guitar. I'm going to mic it like a guitar amp." And then he played the bass part just like in a muted electric guitar tone to help give some clarity to the bass. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool thing. That's a cool little technique with the upright bass that doesn't have a lot of highs. Put a little edge there." And they call it a tic-tac, so I learned something today. And it was interesting in that project with bluegrass. A lot of times the harmonies are just great. So just the way they approach harmonies is different than pop music, and I learned from that too. So doing different kinds of music, if it's something I'm familiar with and I can do well, great. If it's something I'm not and I can learn from, that's even better.
So, you're like at the same time like the most famous Baltimore musician amongst the musician crowd.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not the most recognized amongst the fan crowd. And I saw you had a huge show with Fatally Yours with just a gigantic crowd. Was that the biggest crowd you've performed before?
I think that's got to be. That was the Maryland State Fair, and it's a cool picture. I mean, we took that picture. It's Hailstorm's crowd. We were opening for Hailstorm. But Failures rocked it, and everybody was into it. So I was honored to be asked to play that. That was really fun. We got there early, and horses started racing around us. We were kind of like stuck in the middle of the horse track. And then when that was over, people just started. So many people started gathering, and then by the end, that was a huge crowd. That was probably the biggest. And there was like a big screen up there, like Jumbotron type thing, covering the band. So that was cool, but also, like you said, it could be a kind of a background thing, could be not as known. So there's Fatally Yours band pictures that I'm not in because I'm not a member of the band, and there's a singer that everyone sees. So often, as a keyboard player, after your set, nobody knows that you were there, and that it's just kind of funny like that. I joke about that sometimes. Being the keyboard, just sort of this invisible like auxiliary thing. It's kind of like you're like the monitor engineer or like a stage tech or something on keyboards for some reason. It's not as glamorous of a position, but it's fun for me. You get to have more fun with sounds.
Well, it's so consistent with the Hired Gun movie, which is why you're immediately one of the people I thought of. A guy who does so much for the music industry in Baltimore that is often behind the curtain and people don't see. So Mid-Atlantic Rock Reviews and MARR, man, we tip our hat to you, Tony. You are a huge contributor to the Baltimore music scene, man.
Well, thanks, man.
So listen, I'll give you a chance here before we let you go. Do you want to give a little shout out to the studio and, if people are looking for some production, how to get a hold of you guys?
Oh, thanks. My place is called Deep End Studio, and the website is thedeependstudio.com. And I have a gallery of recordings you can listen to, like 30-second clips of a bunch of different types of bands. And the idea is to kind of show some variety there. So if a band's looking to record, look for an album cover that looks like it might be something close to your genre and click on it, and you'll hear something and see what you think. Yeah, so check it out, deependstudio.com. People contact me sometimes on Facebook. But through the site, there's information and contact, and you can listen to some stuff. And I come out to a lot of shows. If there's a keyboard player in the show that has like black hair probably in his face, could be me. Come say hi. If not, just say hi to a keyboard player, because we do get ignored a lot.
Hey, man, it's awesome. So, Tony Correlli, man, a good friend of the show. We've had the pleasure of doing some interviews in your studio, and we see you at a ton of shows, both performing and watching. So, Tony Correlli, man, Deep End Studios, thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you, man. Good talk to you. Good hanging with you. I hope to see you at the show again soon.